I felt that we should have a group that brings all the African women together.
With all practical expedition, take effectual measures for the abolition of the African slave trade.
We, the African Women's Forum, are joining with you today to celebrate the beginning of freedom 200 years ago, here in this country and throughout the whole of the British Empire.
Today, the African Women's Forum have kick-started their series of events throughout the year that they're going to be holding to mark the abolition of the slave trade.
We started as a very informal social group that met every 3, maybe 4 times a year.
The advantage of such a group is that people come and go. The women, African women who live in the area, just join up, and they may move out of the area, new people join in, and I've been able to meet people I would normally meet elsewhere.
AWF is African Women's Forum. It is an organization that aims really to socially include all women from all parts of Africa. I think the key thing that got us involved with the work in the community with the group was because we felt the African culture was neglected, was lacking in the cultural scene of Portsmouth and surrounding areas.
They invited us as a company to come down and talk to them about making this piece with them. We met in a little dark room at the bottom of the new Theatre Royal, chatted, we showed some of our work, talked about ideas, and it was a great meeting of minds really.
We came down that were meant to stay and met the awesome machine that is the African Women's Forum, and just got involved with that way, won the bid, and sort of took it on from there. Little did we know what was the momentous things that were going to come out of that meeting.
Here were a group of people whose passion for what they wanted to communicate was completely limitless.
You can't use the word celebrate and slavery in the same concept or the same sentence. So what we were celebrating was the long, hard fight for freedom. We were celebrating the road to freedom, and I think that was what came through in the eventual project.
The project was divided into 2 strands. So the Arts Council funded the performance side, and the Heritage Lottery Fund funded a museums project. The initial preparation of the funding bid wasn't so bad, but the process that came after that negotiation, I think, was a lot more stressful.
You ran around filling in forms and providing whatever information is required, and then you wait. And you wait, and you wait to hear whether you got the money.
The first event was the launch of the project, which was held at the Portsmouth Guildhall, where the Lord Mayor helped us to declare the whole project open. We sang with some school children, we had professional actors, and it was a beautiful day, so we had plenty of audience.
The Guildhall launch was an amazing day. It was outside. None of us, when we first arrived, had really any idea who would be there, if anyone would be there, what it would sound like, and the crowd was superb that day. There were loads of African women in the audience, so there was loads of cheering and singing coming from them. It was a brilliant day.
The trumpet sounds within my soul. I ain't got long to stay.
We made a piece in the cathedral to replicate the emancipation services of 1838, when the slaves actually were completely freed.
The commemorative service at St. Thomas's Cathedral was to depict the service that happened on the night of the liberation of slaves.
I think for me the best part was they had a kind of rigged up sort of coffin in the centre of the performance area, and at the end we all had to be thrown chains into the coffin, and then the congregation came and signed to say it was the end of slavery.
I did a workshop in the summer, which was a 5-day theatre workshop. And in the mornings we'd deal with sort of younger ones, in the afternoons we'd deal with older ones, and over the 5 days we'd learn acting techniques, but also explore black history and slavery and how that fits into the world today, and end up on the Friday with a performance to parents and friends. Just seeing this progression, seeing people just starting to really take on board what it is they're trying to communicate.
The exhibition was basically the culmination of what the schools did to contribute to the event.
We hoped that when we brought our knowledge to the museum in Portsmouth, we didn't want to replicate what they've done. We wanted Portsmouth school children to think, as youngsters of today, what does slavery mean to you?
We had loads of different types of kind of media there. We had artefacts there for people to look at, but the main thrust of that exhibition was the young people's work.
The African Women's Forum were looking to make a community play in the year of the abolition of the African slave trade to celebrate not only the fact of that abolition, but also to look into the whole process of what that meant in terms of freedom. It was about a 10-12 week rehearsal period, rehearsing 3 times a week and building that up.
When we were rehearsing on Brighter Than the Moon, fortunately we had a very, very understanding and a very patient Philip, who was the director.
Now they're here than here, so you are more of a whisper than them.
You know, what you're asking people to do is live their day at school or at work, maybe rush down some dinner, and then come to the theatre to be pushed hard by us, and that's quite an immense thing to ask of people. And so as it gets nearer to production, you'll see people getting tired, and of course tiredness leads to the odd bout of rattiness and so on and so on. So it was hard, but it was to be expected that it was going to be that hard, and I just think the way people responded and rose to that challenge was truly inspirational.
I am a griot. I am the griot, the remembrancer, the memory dancer, necromancer, storyteller, and romancer. In me is stored all memory and history, the kings and queens of Africa, myth, mystery, and mystery.
The griot was it was the main character. He kind of took people on the journey that the other characters went on through this play, through history, if you like.
Grab the rope, Martina. When storms are raging.
The stalls area, which we could clear, could become the hold of the ship. We could take the audience to it, and they could have some sense of experiencing that.
We'll be praying to the heavens above.
That star.
Yeah. Ignore the moon. It's brighter.
They have to aim for the North Star because the North Star is freedom. That's the road to freedom, in which sense the North Star is brighter than the moon.
Sing freedom.
Oh, freedom.
Freedom lies at his feet till I return. That star will burn. Oh, brighter than the moon.
That last week, it was tiring, it was non-stop, it was full on, but we'd get there. It may not be a good performance, but we would get there. However, I think it was a brilliant performance, and I think everyone that was there could just be so proud of what they did.
I felt elevated. I felt the whole community was on the stage very young, very old, and they've acted their part.
40 people who never knew each other before, just being completely welded together.
It was a performance that brought people to tears. It made people laugh, it made people cry, it made people think. What more do you want out of a performance?
4 steps forward, 3 steps back. That's the road to freedom in your back. Listen for that whip to crack. Take 4 steps forward, 3 steps back.
For a lot of the cast, and especially the younger ones, they'd never considered what life was like for a black slave to be taken away from your home. And I think it got really driven home. You could see people thinking about that and processing that, and it kind of changing the way they thought. And that's quite important for me to see that happen, and it happened.
This play has done so much. If we could do more of things like that in Portsmouth, I think it will be a great thing.
Freedom lies at his feet, till I return, that star will burn, oh, brighter than the moon. Yeah!
Nationally, 2007 turned out to be huge, and Portsmouth's place in it would have been severely limited without Marie's work and the African Women's Forum's work.
If all it does is make people say, what's that all about? And someone says, oh, did you know this is 200 years since slavery was abolished? It opens a key for a discussion, for conversation. And then what people can realise, it's not that long ago, really, and that there's still issues to work out.
It doesn't end here, it goes on. Those people will stay together, and that creativity that's been allowed to flourish will continue to flourish.
It would be great to take that play now, to take that cast and offer it to a wider world.
My experience of them has been that they're an amazing organisation, and they don't hesitate to support other projects that maybe aren't directly related to them. They've got a lot of goodwill and a lot of enthusiasm.
It's shown us what we can do, because we're quite a small group. What you can do when you have the willpower and you have the funding to do it.
Mama,